1. The coat in the corner. I had spent a few days in Austin visiting friends. I live in Louisiana, so it's sort of an all-day drive. On my last day, my old friend Tom commented on my Instagram story asking when I was leaving, and I said, "Today." He told me he lived an hour outside of Austin, which was actually in the direction of home for me. I hadn't seen Tom in years, so I thought it would be nice to catch up. When I pulled up to his house, I noticed it was a little old-fashioned, not run down, just aged. The wooden porch creaked under my steps, and when he opened the door, I caught the scent of old wood, like an old cabin. Tom was very welcoming, giving me a big hug and pulling me inside. We sat in his living room, drinking whiskey and catching up. Hours passed and I got pretty drunk. Eventually, he offered to let me stay the night since I wasn't in any shape to drive. He led me to a spare bedroom and I collapsed onto the bed, exhausted. Sometime in the middle of the night, I woke up. The room was dark except for a little moonlight. That's when I saw it. In the far corner, hanging on the closet door, was what looked like a long black trench coat. But as my eyes adjusted, the shape felt wrong. It had broad shoulders, and the way it hung made it look less like fabric and more like a silhouette. I tried to ignore it, but I couldn't shake the feeling it was watching me. I forced myself back to sleep. When I woke up again, the coat was gone. I rushed to Tom's room and shook him awake. "The coat on the closet door. Where is it?" He looked confused. "I don't own a trench coat. There's no coat rack in that room." We searched the whole house. Nothing. No signs of forced entry. No coat anywhere. To this day, I don't know what I saw. Was it a prank? A hallucination? Or something else? Something that had been standing in the corner, watching me sleep? 2. The forest camping nightmare. When I was 18, my parents, my friend Anna, and I went on a road trip in Sweden. We planned to visit a theme park and camp, but we hadn't booked a site. When we arrived, everything was full due to a soccer tournament, so we had to find a spot in the woods. We parked in a gravel lot near a beach surrounded by forest. As we set up our tents, I noticed an abandoned car parked farther away. It looked beat up, and there was no one inside. Strange, since it was late and the area was empty. Around midnight, Anna and I were in our tent when we heard a loud clang, like a shovel hitting gravel. Then the sound of a car trunk slamming shut. Seconds later, the car sped off. We were already on edge when, 10 minutes later, we heard a blood-curdling scream from the woods. I called my mom in a panic, but she hadn't heard anything. Then we heard footsteps circling our tents. Someone was walking around, stopping near our car. Suddenly, the same car returned, its headlights lighting up our tent. I peeked out and saw it speed off again. Moments later, a police car raced past in the same direction. The next day, I looked up the area and found out a man had been murdered there recently, stabbed to death in a gang-related crime. 2 others had gone missing from that same beach. What was that scream? Who was digging in the middle of the night? And why were the police chasing that car? I'll never know.
3. The voice that knew their names. When I was 6, my brother Keith, who was 8, and I shared a bedroom upstairs. One night, he shook me awake. "Listen," he whispered. I heard our mum's voice calling from downstairs. "Keith! Mikey!" I started to get up, but Keith stopped me. "That's not Mum." I crept to the door and peeked through the crack. At the bottom of the stairs stood a woman, but it wasn't our mother. She looked up, saw me, and smiled. "Hi, sweetie. Come down." I slammed the door and locked it. Keith and I screamed until our parents woke up. Our dad searched the house and the police came, but they never found anyone. Strangest of all, that woman knew our names. Our parents refused to explain. Even years later, they'd only say, "We're proud you didn't go downstairs." Who was she? And why did she know us? 3. The voice that knew their names. When I was 6, my brother Keith, who was 8, and I shared a bedroom upstairs. One night, he shook me awake. "Listen," he whispered. I heard our mom's voice calling from downstairs. "Keith, Mikey." I started to get up, but Keith stopped me. "That's not Mom." I crept to the door and peeked through the crack. At the bottom of the stairs stood a woman, but it wasn't our mother. She looked up, saw me, and smiled. "Hi, sweetie. Come down." I slammed the door and locked it. Keith and I screamed until our parents woke up. Our dad searched the house and the police came, but they never found anyone. Strangest of all, that woman knew our names. Our parents refused to explain. Even years later, they'd only say, "We're proud you didn't go downstairs." Who was she, and why did she know us? 4. The Stalker in the Suburbs. When I was 16, I left a friend's house late at night and started walking home. After a few minutes, I realized a man was following me. He kept making small talk. "Nice night, huh?" Then he said something chilling. "You live by the elementary school, right?" I ran, screaming for help. He chased me, snarling, "Shut up, you little," but fled when porch lights started turning on. A friend picked me up, but later that night, we heard footsteps circling my house. Then a man's voice from the backyard. "I see you up there." We called the police, and they patrolled the area, but we never found out who he was. My mom installed security cameras, and we eventually moved. That man knew where I lived, and if I hadn't screamed, I might not be here today.